Hello, my name is Tristan Brady, and I will be your host. This is a show where we talk about what I love and what I'm passionate about. We're going to have on a variety of guests that are masters of their crafts, but also, they're just my friends. This is a show where we talk about anything and everything. Welcome to the Mancave podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mancave podcast. I'm your host, Tristan Breedeman, and across from me is Brady Sale. He is an expert in firearms training and jiu-jitsu. Not quite like expert in jiu-jitsu.
Probably not expert in
but that's
jiu-jitsu.
how I know you, and you're like an expert to me. So.
No doubt. I definitely get beat up in jiu-jitsu a lot, but to a white belt, I might surprise you.
He surprises me. So we met each other at a 6 a.m. jiu-jitsu class, and
No doubt.
for some reason, I decided to roll with you. I thought it was a good idea, and I got absolutely smashed. But we share an affiliation for Star Wars. We absolutely love Star Wars. And I think there's a video of me somewhere that you recorded of me reciting like Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the Sith, yeah.
So,
word for word.
Yeah.
And then I actually put it to the actual footage from the movie and used your audio over the movie.
It was fantastic.
It was perfect.
I loved it.
Yeah.
But this is my good friend, Brady. We've known each other for a couple years now. Brady, introduce yourself. What do you kind of do?
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm Brady Sale, and I'm from Red Bluff, California. I currently work for my family's trucking business. It's been around since 1961. Didn't always do that. Back in 2016, I got a pretty awesome job with a company called Thunder Ranch. It's a training company. They train military and civilian and law enforcement clientele how to fight with guns. And I've been a pretty much last decade and a half pursuing knowledge in firearms training as a civilian. And from there, I've kind of built up a little bit of an understanding, I think, at least. Yeah.
Awesome. So I kind of wanted like to talk about self-defense because I see your Instagram videos a lot, and I'm just like drooling because I want to be that trained and I want to be that well prepared.
Yeah.
So in your opinion, what is self-defense? Like, is it just like being, you go to a jiu-jitsu class and like, oh, I know jiu-jitsu, let me show you this move? Or is it like kind of like calm?
I think self-defense is a lifestyle, right? I think it is a God-given right. And I think it's something that we should all strive to be better at in order to not be directed by other people. Like, I don't have to listen to anyone if I know self-defense really well, right? Like, don't push me around. But for me, it's been a lifestyle choice that started when I was in high school. I shot myself with a handgun in high school, which was like, that started it all. Scared me to death. Total accident, negligent discharge, an ND is what they say now. And I put my hand over the unloaded gun and was, how like some people will press the trigger to release the trigger spring when they're done shooting, which you don't have to do, but it's like, I gotta unload and click, right? Well, my hand was in front of it when it clicked, and I was on the muzzle on this it was a Smith & Wesson model 39-2. And that gun is kind of a compact. It's like Smith & Wesson single stack 9mm old school gun, and hand over the end of the barrel, press the trigger, poof, and I just saw meat and red, and it was a morning light, and it's no joke. Like Black Hawk Down, the red mist thing. Yeah. That's for real, out of my hand.
Oh my gosh!
So it was
That's
like
insane.
And I'm like, and instant shock. It basically had just blown the top part or the bottom part of my palm here where the muzzle was, and since it was muzzle contact, it had pretty much tattooed with gunpowder my whole palm, and then this part of the palm was just confetti, right? And it was a full metal jacket, thank goodness, and it wasn't like a huge caliber, but it sucked, and it was on fire, and I was like, oh man. I go to, and of course this was unsupervised at 17 with a handgun.
Wait, you're like, after you shot yourself, you're like, okay, I gotta get this gun out of here.
No. So the gun disappeared as soon as that happened. Yeah.
Okay.
So boom.
Yeah.
Well, I had thrown it.
Okay.
Right. It's just gone.
Yeah.
Right. We didn't find it till later. But I was like, oh man, I got to get in the truck, call my dad. Well, I'm getting in the truck. Door is not opening.
Oh no.
I had shot a hole through the door of my pickup, bent the latch on the pickup door, and I couldn't get in. I was stuck. There's like, I'm in trouble. Well, luckily the other door was unlocked. Crawled through, called my dad. He screamed. I mean, I got in the worst trouble of my life.
I can imagine. Yeah,
I mean, literally
that's crazy.
About the most trouble I've ever gotten into. And then after that, of course, it's in the newspaper, young adult male. They didn't use my name because I wasn't 18 yet. Yeah. Handgun, Red Bluff. It was a very embarrassing thing. All the guys in high school, dude, what happened?
Yeah.
And I kind of tried to play it off. But what a lot of people know is when I went home for about 3 months, I couldn't touch a gun. I would shake. Couldn't touch them. And I didn't like that fear in myself. So I started Googling firearms training for civilians. Just first thing that came up was this guy in Shasta County, some redneck dude way off in the woods. Yeah. And I'm like, right on, let's go do it. So I went and did it. It was a little rough around the edges now that I look back at it, but it was a good entry point. And then from there, I just got hooked and I started training all over the West Coast. And I've even flown back in the Mideast there and taken classes too. And to this day, I've probably done, if you look at like on paper, they're usually 16-hour courses, sometimes 48-hour courses. I've probably done about 600 hours of training.
Dang.
And spent probably close to like $100,000 so far in training.
Damn.
Yeah, and that was insane. Over about that started in 2009 and 2010.
Okay.
Yeah, and then just started going after it.
So you were heavily involved up in Thunder Ranch.
Yeah.
What did you do up there?
So Thunder Ranch kind of came around as like I was taking classes there. That's how they knew me. I would go up there and train. Took long range bolt gun classes, handgun classes, stuff like that. And then what happened was I found a drone in my dad's garage. It's kind of funny thing. His tax guy gave it to him. Here's a drone. And I was like, Dad, this thing's covered in dust. This is cool. Let's fly it. Well, I flew it and I was like, this would be awesome to film a long range shot with and show the distance. So I went out to our property, set up a target at 690 yards, did the shot, made a cool video, I thought, put cool music to it. The song Sail by AWOL Nation. Okay. Right?
Nice. Just get you hyped.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, get you hyped. Right. It was just awesome. I sent it to them and I'm like, hey guys, thank you for the skill sets over the years. I've really appreciate getting to train with you.
Yeah.
Heidi called me 2 days later. And
Heidi's
said,
up at Thunder Ranch.
Heidi is Clint's wife.
Okay.
And she goes, I want you to come work for us. And it was kind of those moments in your life where you're like, should I do this? Like, I'm kind of leaving my dad's business and the family thing to go do this. And I just said, yeah, let's do it. Let's go. So I was there a week later.
You're filming a bunch of their firearms?
Yeah, so I went up there and started doing some video stuff like, hey, we need a video guy that understands gun stuff. So I was a gun guy that then started to like, oh my gosh, I've been thrown into this world of video editing.
Sweet.
So we had this little tiny Sony camera and we started filming the first YouTube videos, which weren't hard to go viral because everyone knows how Clint is and he's just like, that dude is wild.
Yeah.
So it took off YouTube videos, Instagram, Facebook, and that took off and then we just kept going with it. Ended up going to SHOT shows and stuff like that. And
dude, have you seen some of the stuff from SHOT Show this year?
Wow.
There's some modular stuff that I'm like,
yeah, the Magpul thing looks cool.
Oh yeah,
the counting for the rounds, and that's pretty neat.
There was also one that literally the pistol frame goes attaches to a rifle, so you only have to have one serial number for everything.
Smart.
And I'm like, it's like the SIG P320 that the Army just adopted.
Yep.
To where you can adjust everything.
Yep.
But now you just have one gun. It fits onto everything.
Yeah.
Firearms technology is going
It's pretty
insane
awesome.
right now.
The SIG P320 that I bought it when it first came to California through what was a loophole called the single shot exemption.
I remember that.
Right. So
that was before my time. Right. So I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, I did that. And so I have the very first iteration of SIG P320. And it's cool. It's like you literally take that trigger module out and that is the gun.
The gun.
That's all it is. Yeah. And that's a pretty cool thing to have. And you can literally buy a grip kit, I think, for those like $20. So if you mess up stippling, it's no big deal. Whereas the Glock, the frame is the thing. And I do all my own stippling and everything on my own personal Glocks. So that is kind of a nice thing to consider for the P320.
I love it. I mean, the technology that's going into firearms, even though it seems like firearms are just like getting attacked right now. They are. We're going to innovate a way, especially in California. We have to be innovative in California.
That's it.
How are we going to make the new laws? How are we going to adjust for that? So I love seeing that.
For sure.
But so like some basics in self-defense. In California as an adult, you can get what's called the concealed carry weapons permit.
Yeah.
What's the process that goes into that?
So initially you have to do training in California. They're going to do a background check. If you're a prior felon, you're never going to get your concealed carry permit license in California. Even misdemeanors, they'll start to question things, especially if it's a violent one.
Yeah.
I worked for a company before Thunder Ranch just teaching CCWs. I went through, which is a joke, the NRA Certified Pistol Instructors Program. Someone says I'm an NRA Certified Instructor. That doesn't mean anything. That's like literally I got like one stripe on my white belt jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah.
Okay, it's like, yeah, good. You showed up.
You did the basics.
You did the basics, right? But in that, those guys are qualified to teach CCW classes in California, and then that's dictated by the sheriff or the police department. And you would basically get your background, got to be 21, got to have your own handgun, do the training now. And they actually have, before you didn't actually have to fire a single round.
Yeah.
Now you have to do that and qualify. And once you qualify, you have an interview because California is not a shall issue state.
Yeah. Oh, the interview process?
Yeah.
That, I was terrified.
Yeah. What's this guy going to ask?
The investigator came in and he's like,
yeah.
I noticed that you didn't put, red light traffic that got dismissed. Why didn't you put that? I'm like, I think you got dismissed. I didn't know what to do. But those guys are scary, man.
They'll look up everything in your history.
Yeah.
So if you have any stints with like violence at all in your history, you're probably not going to get it. They want a safe bet.
Yeah.
Because they're putting their name, on your back. And so yeah, it was hard. So I did it through the PD in Red Bluff, and then I also did it through the county because I was in city limits in Red Bluff for a while. What's kind of cool is if you get a concealed carry permit in California, especially like up here, Tama County, Shasta County, Glenn, what have you, you're good for the rest of the state. Where a lot of those counties, they have backup lists forever and ever.
Yeah.
So that's one thing fortunate for us. But San Francisco and LA, they don't want you to carry there. But it's a good thing to have. I think it really is. In the grand scheme of things, you can be a black belt practitioner in jiu-jitsu, be able to handle yourself on the ground and everything, but that one guy with that one bullet can end everything for you. So it's the great equalizer, right? And a gun just allows me to have options, whereas just having my fist doesn't necessarily do that, right?
Yeah.
If that guy brings something like a weapon into the situation, I need to be able to handle that in the best way possible, which is a concealed carried handgun. Like our handgun's great at stopping people. They're actually really not. Like 80% of people who were shot with a handgun will live.
Yep.
Which a lot of people don't understand that. And
because it's a small caliber.
Yes.
And
it's not doing a lot.
It doesn't get a lot of muzzle velocity, which means once it leaves the gun, it's not going very fast.
No.
So the common misconception is like, oh, I don't want to kill him, so I'm going to shoot him in the leg.
Yeah, no way.
I'm like, you have a higher chance of hitting a lot of their like their veins, arteries that you can bleed out way faster.
Absolutely.
Whereas internal damage, you're not nearly as likely to bleed out. So.
No, and so a handgun is good at making someone stop what they're doing, like get away from me. But you have to remember, if you're shot in the heart, right, you still have 45 seconds, maybe 90 seconds to keep doing what you're doing. Maybe your heart's exploded. That guy can still do a lot of bad things. So handguns in general are not my favorite, but they're convenient.
Yes.
I can conceal them. I can have them on me. I can have them around my family. I can be in the car. No one needs to know. If I was going to go to a fight and I knew there was going to be a fight, I'm going to have a long gun. There's no doubt about it. The differences are literally night and day. But for me, Glock 19 every day, and and it's literally every day for me. It's a lifestyle choice. I have a lot of friends who don't carry, and they have their concealed carry permits, and to me, it's just like literally stepping out your front door, and you might as well just go bah. Like a sheep, because I mean you're making that choice to succumb to the will of someone else because you can't defend yourself, right? Doesn't matter. Yeah, sure, you're awesome at boxing, or you think you're tough, and what's the notion? I just see red, bro.
Yeah,
it's like no, you don't.
Nope.
No, you don't. You just get you get hurt.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, it's just a really really good thing to have, and yeah.
So I know a lot of people like, oh yeah, I have my pocket knife.
Yeah.
What is your thought on that?
Self-defense with knives, I get it. I have done knife classes. I thoroughly enjoy taking classes with Craig Douglas of ShivWorks. That's the name of the company, ShivWorks.
ShivWorks, nice.
Okay. The guy's cool. Comes out to California every year. Does a lot of grappling. It was his classes that really got me into jiu-jitsu because you work with sim guns and rubber knives and stuff like that. And I got shot with my own sim gun like 3 or 4 times. The guy took it from me. He was a purple belt who didn't know anything about guns really, but he was able to work me on the ground. So here we are finding that balance between like standing up, grappling, physical fitness, and then the gun world and having techniques there. So knives in general, they don't stop people. You're right. They say, well, they never run out of ammunition. It's like, yeah, because you're going to have to use them a whole lot.
Your body runs out of ammunition. It runs out of energy.
Yeah, it does. And knives, a lot of times people don't even know they get stabbed. They just feel like a little bit of a leak or something.
Yeah. Are
they deadly? Absolutely, they're deadly. And they are a real threat. But as the number one thing you're hoping to defend yourself with, it's not great. But if that's all you have and you don't have your concealed carry permit, then yeah, rock on, carry a knife. But I tell you what, you need to train with it. You need to practice with it. You need to practice deploying it. A lot of people don't even know how to pull their knife out. Or as soon as they squat, their pants get so tight they can't pull the knife out of their pocket.
Yep.
That's a real thing. That's my other gripe with pocket guns. I have a lot of friends who carry pocket guns. And I'm like, man, that's just the worst. Like, as soon as you literally get into any kind of squatting position, which is what we fight in, jiu-jitsu, we're squatted, right?
That's heavily on the ground.
On the ground.
We're on the ground all the time.
So the trousers get tight around the hips, right? So if you have something in your pocket, you're basically locking that into your pocket, whatever that is. So it's just funny. I see a lot of the pocket 22s out there, and it's convenient, but it's also silly.
Yeah.
And in a fight, Clint always used to say, I want to be able to fight with the biggest gun I can carry, right? There's in a fight, there's no gun that's too big.
Yeah.
But to carry, there's no gun that's too small. I want it to be fit right into my pocket and be comfortable. I don't even know it's there. It's like, well, maybe you should know it's there.
I want to know it's there.
Yeah.
I'm carrying a weapon
that's it.
That could kill someone or myself.
Yeah.
I need to know it's there.
That's it. You need to know it's there. And of course, mine has become such a lifestyle thing for me that there is times where it's like I'm not thinking about it, but it's always known that it's there.
So you're at that point where people today, their phone is not in the near vicinity of them.
They're having problems.
They're having problems.
Yeah.
Are you like that with
100%. 100% with my if I'm home, I'm armed. So a lot of people, they get home and it's relaxed time. The only time I'm not armed at home is if I'm wrestling with my kids.
Yeah.
Right. But if I'm home, I have a fanny pack, a home fanny pack. Yeah. It's totally dorky. I don't care. But for sure, I have the fanny pack on, gym shorts, and I'm around the house because I still have that option with me. If I don't have the gun, I don't have the option, right?
Yeah.
And that option is to be able to defend myself. If I don't have that, yeah, sure, I can use my hands. But if that guy has a gun in any way, shape, or form, I'm outgunned.
Yep.
Right. So I don't want to ever be down there. I'm in an effort to continually stay dangerous for as long as possible till the day I die. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Right. So
say I'm a new CCW. I decided to get my CCW.
Yeah.
Never bought a gun before.
Yeah.
What would be my first steps? Obviously, go buy a gun.
Yeah.
What would you purchase?
Okay. So as far as the gun goes, I would go for a semi-automatic handgun. Of course, you can get the snubby revolvers, and I see a lot of guys push females towards snubby revolvers.
Yeah.
It's simple. You're simple. This will work for you. They are the most you have to be the most talented shooter ever to shoot a snubby.
Yeah.
Correctly.
Oh, yeah.
Right. They are very hard to shoot well, especially at distance.
I've tried, and I'm terrible with it.
Right.
Especially if it's a double action, I have to always. If it's double single, I'm pulling that single,
right?
Because that triggers glass.
Well, back in the day, the proper way to shoot a revolver was double action only, even if you had a single action option to pull the hammer back, right? So you just run double. So you'd actually go all the way through all the slack, and then at the very end, that's where you press your shot, right? So those guys, the gunmen of the back in the day were awesome with it. But in today's world, I would say get a semi-automatic handgun in 9mm or bigger. I'm not a big fan of 380. I think it just doesn't have enough ass behind it.
Yeah.
Whereas 9mm, I like it. I have a lot of friends who carry 40. That's totally good. It's just whatever you can shoot and hit accurately with. For me, I like to have a lot of bullets. So 9mm for me. I can carry 31 rounds on board. Yeah, that's over 10 rounds of magazine. Yep, it is. Freedom Week.
Yep.
Right? You know what I mean?
Oh, I know what you mean.
Freedom Week, it's the real deal. But yeah, for me, nine's where it's at. But some guys like 40 and some guys like 45 ACP. That's cool. But remember, I'm carrying my gun every day, all day long, right? And I have that many bullets on me.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of guys who like to carry 40s will have a 22 in their pocket.
Yep.
Right? And they'll carry the 40 when it's rodeo weekend.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So.
And a lot of guys carrying 45 ACP, they're carrying 1911s.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
that's a big piece of steel.
That's a big piece of steel, and you only got 8 rounds.
You got
probably
8 rounds,
max.
man. And the 1911, if you are a practitioner of that platform and you really practice, and I mean really practice. I mean, I know guys who do 30,000 rounds a year.
That's insane.
That's not, but it happens. Yeah. And that guy, he will mess you up with that 1911.
Oh, yeah.
But, it's that whole notion of the more I train, the better I get. And there are years where I do 20,000 rounds through my handguns. There were. But, now, COVID, ammo, Biden, right? We are just so limited on our ammo availability that I've gone into different practicing realms like dry practice. I have a CERT laser pistol. I do a lot of, I have an airsoft AR to practice all my airsoft stuff with.
That's awesome.
And I always made jokes at airsoft guys. I'm like, you guys are dorks, right? Like,
you guys are want to be operators.
Yeah, like the MilSerp stuff. It's like, wow. But I started seeing with those ARs that they were so weighted, so real. A couple that I felt that I could replicate for $22 for biodegradable BBs, and I get like 10,000.
Yep.
Right. Awesome. Cool. I'll just be in my garage all day, and I have a trap for the BBs, and I set up targets, and I can do up drills, and I can do resets, and I get all of that manipulation stuff ingrained into my brain. So when I grab my AR, it doesn't feel unfamiliar. I want it to feel like we're talking about the familiarity with the handgun not knowing it's there. I want the AR to feel like that. I want my handgun to feel like that. So
Eli, can you pull up a picture difference between like a Glock 19 and a 1911? Because they are two completely different guns. I just want our viewers to kind of
well, one's half polymer and steel, and the other one's all steel.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like with Glocks, they have so much. They're like the Honda Civics of guns, right?
Okay.
I can get all the parts in the world at any gun store ever. Like I can get all my springs, I can get my barrels, I can get my drop-in triggers. I can really customize those guns to just about anything I want to fit my needs.
Because we know that Glock needs a lot. Even though
They do.
So the thing I say is why is so this is the difference between this is on the left we have a striker fired compact pistol. The bottom is going to be polymer, right?
Yeah.
And the top is going to be steel.
Yep.
That weighs in like what, 3.5, 4 pounds.
So like a Glock fully loaded will be right at 3 with all like a 9mm, like 3.5.
Okay, perfect. And then like a 1911, that's got a 5-6 pounds easily.
Yeah, it could be 5 pounds when it's loaded with 45 ACP, and
it doesn't sound like a huge difference, but when it's strapped onto your waist, that is a complete difference. I tried carrying 1911 one time. I was like, nope, this is not gonna. It is a full size 1911.
Right. Well, the argument is the 1911 won 2 world wars, right? But the Glock is very common. You can really accessorize it and make it fit you, which I've had to do. All of my Glocks have had grip work and stuff like that. But do I have a really, really expensive 1911? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
And you know why? Thunder Ranch is known for being 1911 people.
Yeah.
Like that's their thing. Clint has his own signature 1911s through a maker named Les Bear, and now he has them through a guy named Nighthawk Custom.
Oh, he has one through Nighthawk now?
Yeah, 9mm.
Oh, so it's like more like
cool.
the 2011 approach?
It is. Yeah. I mean, they have a 45 ACP version you can get to, and those guns are just fantastic. The Les Bear one I have, I actually got to meet Les Bear and listen to him and Clint talk, and it was really cool.
Yeah.
So I wanted to fit in with my fellow coworkers, so I got one. Have just one, but I got a whole slew of magazines. But he was really into pushing me to be a universal gun handler, so being able to pick up any gun and run it. And I actually do fall into that realm. I think that I agree with that statement for sure. I think it's a really important thing to be able to pick up any gun, because I could be anywhere and acquire a gun and like, okay, I know how to run this efficiently in a fight. Because there is a difference in fighting with a gun and then just owning a gun, right? Or, shooting it. Shooting at a target, yeah, cool. But fighting with a gun, knowing how to manipulate it, keep it running in a fight is a whole nother story. And that's where the training comes in.
Yeah. I mean, I have a hard time with like European paddles.
Yeah.
But I can still run it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, I want to be so well versed that I can run anything. So like having that the ability to pick up any gun and be able to run it, I think is critical, especially today with like the gun market just so saturated.
Oh, it is. Yeah. And you should be able to kind of like understand that there's going to be something reciprocating. There's going to be something ejecting. There's going to be some kind of magazine feeding device in everything. Right. So understanding those, basic facts, I can kind of figure out how most things work. Right. Is it gas driven? Is it recoil driven? What have you? But yeah, I think you should know how to run an AK. It's the most especially if you've traveled over there to the east, right? Going to Dubai, areas like that, right? So maybe something happens that I just end up having one, right?
Somehow, some way.
Something happened, right? But know how to run an AK, know how to run it well. And then as far as like an AR, it's the most common rifle in America now.
Oh, yeah.
So know how to learn and load and unload an AR, not only just to be more dangerous, but also be safer, right? So I can pick up a gun and make it safe, and I want to be able to control it. So knowing how to do that's huge. And then like semi-automatic handguns, that's a good one to know how to load and unload.
Absolutely.
One of the biggest things, like friends that like I take out to shoot, they just want their wives to know how to like even load their gun, because they always do like the broken wrist thing when they load, right? So if you're ever going to do that, remember, just suck your thumb. So pull it back, push with this hand, pull with this one, and the thumb will go into the mouth, right?
Yep.
But that you can load any semi-automatic handgun that way. Put the thing in the thing and rack the thing. Yeah, and it works.
It does.
But my wife, she trained with me, and I've taught a bunch of younger women how to and older women how to load full size semi-automatic handguns. There's no reason why you can't.
Yeah. So I get my CCW, got my gun, took my class. What training should I be going after now?
Well, I think you should continue training always. I think it'd be awesome if everyone in America took at least one class a year, but that's not always true. Or that is not reasonable for some people. But I think if we cut some other things off in our life, like you're literally investing in this gun. You're like, I might have to use this. You've made that decision because you got your concealed carry permit, right? And it's a little tiny % of your life that if you did have to use it, and the chances are you probably won't. You're more likely to burn alive than you are to ever use your handgun, right? But we don't keep fire extinguishers anywhere in our houses, right? So if you go to my house, I have fire extinguishers like all over. One in the kitchen, one next to the bed, right? Because I don't want to burn up, but I also have guns, so I don't want to be a hypocrite, right? But the big thing for me is that little % of your life. I think the guy that told me this story, Travis Haley from Haley Strategic, I trained with him several times, and this story talks about the 1% of your life you can't get wrong. Right. So the rest of my life, I can get a divorce, I can remarry, I can lose my job, get a new job, lose my house, get a new house. My whole life can fall apart and I can rebuild it. But that gunfight, that situation where it's life or death, if I do something wrong in that gunfight, that little % of my life, I never get it back. So for me, the training for that little % is what I'm shooting for. I don't want to get that little % wrong. I want it to be so well drilled into my spectrum that when I draw that gun, those sights are there when I draw the gun, and I know where it's at. The gun's loaded. I know that I've checked my gun that morning. My red dot's good and clean to go. I've got clean glass. I know how to clear my garment. I know how to get it in any situation, playing with my left hand, right hand, what have you. I just want to know that I can present the gun and fight in that little tiny % of my life if I had to.
Do you run red dot on your concealed carry?
I do now. Yeah. I didn't. Was really, really against it, especially concealed carry, because you're basically depending on electronics, right? You've got fuzzy stuff that can fall in there all day. Get a little bit of burrito, boom, right there, being on the glass. Dang it. Yep. But yeah, I have been the last, I'd say 6 or 7 months. It's kind of a new thing for me, but I just saw a lot of benefit in it, especially in a low light shooting environment or shooting a red dot at distance. The reason I consider that an important feat is because if you look at like malls, especially like the Reading Mall or something like that, there are some shots in there that are 150 yards long.
Easy.
So say you had a mall shooter. Yep. I'd rather shoot at him from 150 than I would at 25 or 30.
Yep.
Right? And I'd like to scare the crap out of him at 150. Even if I'm missing, I want him to go, whoa, that's close.
Yep.
Right? So I can do that pretty effectively with a red dot on a handgun. It makes it very simple. Just turn the dot down, have a fine little crisp dot, set that on the target, know your holes, and start pressing the shots off, right? So for me, I do like the dots for that reason. I also like them in a low light environment. And I do like, if you are like to play in the dark with night vision, the dots are awesome off of a handgun, because you can just go into a night vision setting and shoot, and no one sees you shooting because you're passively aiming through your tubes, through the dot, and it's like Call of Duty, which is pretty sweet.
That's so sick.
Yeah, it's way fun. Night vision's a really fun thing.
There's like the basics here where it's like I have my gun, I carry it like 50, 75% of the time.
Right.
There's me where I like most of the time I have my gun on me.
Okay.
I have plates.
Yeah.
Like I have a plate carrier.
Okay, rifle plate carrier,
I have a 3+.
Why not? So you're right.
And then there's like you.
Okay.
You got like level 4 plates, night vision.
Well, so like that, a lot of that came from, I used to think that was kind of silly, right? But then I started.
I think it's awesome. Right. I want to be that.
Yeah, no, and it's good. I think as an individual and as an American, it's our right to have exactly what the government has or better, right? I mean, remember in the Civil War, there were privately owned gunships. Privately owned.
Yep.
Like most of the cannons from the South, those are privately owned. That dude had that on his ranch, right? It's like, check this out. I'll bring it out to the war. Come on. You know? Right? So, Yeah, I think that we've put so much like, well, we could never ever have that. You shouldn't have that. No, I think that we should put more trust in the individual and in responsibility, because generally a person's gonna have to be pretty responsible to be able to afford that in the first place.
Yeah.
Right. He's gonna have to be able to run a business and do a lot of different things to be able to allocate the funds.
How much did night vision cost?
So like my nods potentially like those are 11 grand. Hanging off my head.
Yeah.
Right. So like right there, that's a lot of money. But I don't have a boat either. Right. Which I don't have the other stuff. So people say, well, it's totally unaffordable. Well, I mean, if you got rid of all of your subscription services and you saved for like 2 years, you could probably get it. Or if you sold off 10 of the ARs that don't even have scopes on them in your
you're
save,
just sitting on them.
You know what I mean? You're just sitting on them. You're thinking, oh yeah, I need these. No, you would probably be better off to have like 2 good ARs, a really good bolt gun, and night vision.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's such a force multiplier for you. I do it because it's cool, right? So I have no, I don't think I'm like going to go out like survive in the woods with my night vision on, right? I really like to just go look at the stars. It's awesome. And it's a really great, I'm not going to like, dude broke into my house. You know what I mean? Night vision's on.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. But I would be the only guy in history to do that in the country.
Because
right?
it takes a minute.
It takes a minute to get it set up.
Yeah.
That's the other thing too. Is like you have your helmet, you've got to get your ears on, you have your night vision. But like if I had to hike out of town, the whole world apocalypse happens, and I need to have my kids holding on to them, I could literally drive out of town with no lights on and my night vision, and no one would see my car.
That's
like,
crazy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're Batman now.
Yeah.
Okay. It's pretty
Going through
cool.
the woods.
Going through the woods. And I've done that. Like I went on a date with my wife, had night vision, and I'm like, you see this? You see this? I'm driving. She's like, I don't see anything. She's yelling at me. She's like, this is
That's
not fun.
awesome.
And I'm like, we're flying by the trees. You know, all the lights are off. But yeah, night vision is really cool. I think every American should be able to own it. And I think you should, if you're considering it, you should probably get it sooner than later, because that will be the next thing they take.
Yep.
The ATF is looking right at those things. They're like, yeah, way too many people are getting those. But like you're saying, SHOT Show now, night vision is just, it's the new hotness. And you're seeing big companies promoting it.
Yep. I love it. I love that we have access to that. We're not a lot, like anywhere outside the U.S., like you have plate carriers. What do you need?
Yeah, what's wrong with you?
What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
So you're a family man.
Yeah, for sure.
Have 2 beautiful kids.
Yeah. Third one will be here in a month. It's crazy.
Whoa, I didn't know it was that soon. That's awesome,
it's
bro.
Crazy. Yeah.
So I've been contemplating as I'm getting into the later stages of my life, what's the proper age to start teaching firearms training?
So it really depends on the kid. My daughter is a really squared away kid, and I'm not just saying that. I mean, everyone's gonna say that about their kid, but she listens very well. And she does not want to disappoint me in any way, shape, or form. If I look at her sternly, it breaks her down.
Yeah.
Right. So when she hit 4, I always told Miranda we'd try when they hit 4. So she hit 4. I set her up at the range. We went out there. I got her 1022. Painted it with the literally pink sparkle paint from Home Depot.
Awesome.
Took the stock off. I mean, it is a unicorn gun, right? She's like, this is the best.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make it lighthearted and fun, first of all. I want her to enjoy shooting, and then we can talk about the serious implications later. But she understands the serious implications already because she sees Daddy put on a gun every day.
Yeah.
Daddy, why do you have that? My kids don't say anything about my gun because it's part of my lifestyle. It's literally, for me, what some guy's putting on his belt every day, I'm putting on my gun too. So they don't ever question, like, Dad has his gun. Yeah, Dad just has his gun. But my son doesn't go, hey, my dad's going to shoot you.
Yeah.
It's not like today he's carrying the gun. No, every day Dad has the gun. So my daughter knows that with guns that, like, we use them to defend ourselves. They're for protection. Bad guys come around. We can keep the bad guys, away.
Yeah.
But we went out there, we shot. I set her up with a 1022. The reason being is a lot of guys buy like the Cricket Bug bolt guns. Well, the kid gets so frustrated by the time he's figured out the bolt that he can't find the target and focus on what the shooting is, which is acquiring a good sight picture, focusing on the target and pressing the shot, and then doing a bit of a follow through and working on all the safety stuff. He's to add that thing is like just going to stress him out.
It's another obstacle.
Yeah, for sure. So we set up a tripod, we lay down flat, we get comfortable, we have something that's reactive to shoot. That's the big thing. It's like they want to see something. So we shoot paint cans, we shoot steel. We don't just shoot a paper target. That's pretty boring. Right?
It is pretty boring.
Especially for a kid. So I shoot until she's done. And when then she's done, we leave. If that's 10 minutes, awesome. If that's 35 minutes, cool. The last time we shot for like 45, which was awesome. The first time we shot for 5 or 6 minutes and we were done. She's like, I said, you done? She's like, yeah, I'm good. And we make it a daddy-daughter date and we leave. But I'm not going to force my thing onto her. I just want her to know it and understand it. And now it's become like, it's fun. Now my son's like, I want to go shoot. I want to go shoot. I want to go shoot. But I don't know at 4. I mean, he's getting a lot better the last 2 or 3 months. He's 3.5 now. When he hits 4, I'm hopefully he's going to be like his sister and be able to listen really well. But he's said things that are like, I've got this gun and I can shoot. And he's like, the warrior might, the kid with the guns and the sticks and stuff. He's like, I'm gonna shoot this guy. I'm gonna fight. And he says things that it's like, maybe we should hold back for him. So I think it's individual based on the kid. Some people totally disagree with me and say we should wait till you're 10 or what have you and be trained by a professional. I completely agree with that. If that's the way you want to do with your kid, it's your kid.
Yeah.
But for me and mine, and I know my level and my control factor with them, I'm not letting them walk around with it by themselves. I'm right there the entire time. And that's kind of how we do things. Now, do I lock my guns up at my house? Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, I do. You have to. Because if I'm not there, something happened, what have you, I don't want that to ever be in my head. That was just no bueno. So I actually have a shelf built in our kitchen that has a lock on it, so I can lock that. We put the key away. I've got the really cool James Bond shelves, right? With
the drop down?
Yeah, and it's got an RVID for my wallet. So I'll literally pull my wallet out, swipe it across the top of the shelf, and it goes...
That's so sweet.
It is really cool. Yeah, and you do feel like James Bond when it happens. And I have my home defense shotgun and a handgun. One thing for like home defense, if anyone's considering like a rifle or something, I think in our state and in our government, I think a shotgun's probably the best call because you have to remember there's going to be 12 people that are judging you that aren't you.
Yep.
Right. And if you have a shotgun, that's much more identifiable for them compared to like the Zombie Slayer AR-15, which is awesome. Right. And would probably be the best in your house because 5.56 inside a house doesn't zip through the house like a 9mm does. It will disperse because of how fast it's going. It's actually pretty safe to fire indoors for the most part. But yeah, for me, it's a shotgun in California. It's something to consider if you have kids, though. You can't pump a shotgun. You got a kid in your hand. It's really, really tough unless you're really the bomb at loading a shotgun one-handed, which most people don't train enough and aren't. So for me, it's a handgun at home. If the kids are there, I'm going to grab a handgun. That's where the dot comes in handy. A light on the gun. I carry light on my gun every single day. That's so I can identify what I'm shooting at.
Is it a detached or is it attached?
It's attached.
Okay.
It's attached. So I carry like a little handheld light to look around with, right? I also carry a light on the gun that when I drew, I could actually deploy light right then to better identify what I'm going to shoot at. Because maybe there's something bad. The guy's in the dark. I want to draw the gun. He might be threatening me. I'm not exactly sure if that's a weapon. Then I draw the gun and I have a light and I can present things. It's also a pretty awesome deterrent, a bright light out of nowhere in a guy's face with a gun behind it.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It's disorienting them a little bit, too.
Yeah, for sure. Whoa. But yeah, I think a handgun for home with a kid is huge. And teaching your loved one how to shoot one-handed because you're going to have those kids hanging on to you.
Yep.
Right? And then having a plan that you orchestrate. We had a guy, this was about a little over a year ago, show up at my house, just total wrong house for this dude. Like, what a bad call. And he was drunk. He'd been partying at a adjacent lot to our home, which we're kind of in the county. He came up on the door, like hitting the door hard. This big guy, probably like 250. And I have cameras, all the house. I've got cameras wired with a computer next to my bed, so I can turn that on and have all the cameras in my bed. And then I've got another monitoring system in another room.
Smart.
All my cameras are IR, so when I turn on my night vision, it's literally like a football stadium at my house, but no one sees that.
Yep.
But when that guy's banging on the door, he's screaming, I need to use your phone. I need to use your phone. He had a phone in his hand already while he's yelling at me. I don't know how hammered he was or what, but when that happened, we went into what our plan was, which was always for my wife to get the kids into a certain point of the room so that the family's not split, and then I could retreat to them to protect them if the guy did come in. But I was at the door. I was at it would be a T intersection if you're looking like at tactics. So it's like I'm off of the corner of the T intersection and looking at the door, yelling at the guy. I said, you need to leave. This is a bad call. I said, you're at the wrong house. I said, go to the end of the driveway. I can call someone to come get you, but you need to step off my front door right now. And anyways, he did. He had no idea that I was like ready to rock and roll. I was tuned up, it was 3 a.m.
All that training starts coming up.
I was like, this is it. This is it, right? It's important that you always want to sleep in some type of clothing, though. Let me tell you, you don't want to be the naked guy.
That's true.
It's important.
Yeah.
Okay. That's just, you feel very insecure after the fact. Of course, in the fact, like, okay, let's go. But have some gym shorts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. Way important.
So that's kind of a hard conversation for some people to have with their significant other. Like, hey, I want to buy a gun to protect not just me, but also you.
Yeah.
What, like, do you have any advice to give for approaching that conversation?
Yeah. So you got to approach it at an angle of like, I feel like this is really important for the both of us, right? You need to be able to defend yourself when I'm not around, and I want to be able to defend you better. It's all out of a place of love. Yeah. This is compassion is the greatest factor for a person, for a warrior. You got to have good compassion. Some of the most deadly people in the world have great compassion. Yeah. Right. So I have to come from a place of empathy. I have to come from a place that, like, I really feel this is important. I want to be able to defend us in the best way I can because I love you this much, right? And what makes me deadly is how much I love the people behind me, right? So I want them to know that as well. My wife went and did classes with me. I had to, like, drag her to them, right? Not into it. Yeah. There were some tears shed. And we made it through it. And I think she was stronger after the fact. And I think she appreciates it now. She has a lot of confidence. We did a handgun vehicle home defense class. So she was doing in the house training, doing tactics, doing room clearing, stuff like that. She was doing, like, major trauma, knowing how to fix bullet holes. Because if you ever think like might have to use a gun, you should also learn how to use a tourniquet. Yeah. You're going to use that way more often than you ever would use a handgun or a rifle. So medical stuff, that's huge. And so we did a class like that, and it was tough, but we made it through it. And she hasn't trained since then. This was like, I don't know, probably 5 years ago, 6 years ago. But I know that knowledge was there, and she's done it. And then we also shoot together, awesome. and work on stuff. So, I have my own personal range there in Red Bluff, and I have friends and stuff.
I gotta come out there.
You do. I would love you to come out. That'd be really cool. We could do a little video stuff and get you tuned up. And what really messes with people is if you hit that timer. And that shot timer is such a great tool. Clint was really against them, but I still believe it's an awesome tool. Because he's always say there's no shot timers in a fight, but it's a great tool to measure. And he's correct, there isn't, but it's a great tool to measure my skill level at where I'm at with time, especially from the concealed carry draw. I think, like, the number that most people try to reach right now is a draw from concealment in 1.5 seconds, right? Which seems, it's pretty fast, but it's very doable, especially first day. Like, I could get you there. But at the same time, it makes you consider what you're carrying. And the more comfortable it is, generally, the harder it is to get out. Yep. Right? So, like, if you have the old shoulder holster and you're, like, unclipping the thing and drawing it out and hold on,
Yeah, pull your shirt all the way up.
Yeah, right. Anything that takes, like, two hands to draw is usually not a great idea because you need one hand to be able to deal with things, or you're holding on someone's hand or something like that.
I mean, even if someone's trying to, like, come at you, and you got to
keep them back space, a little bit, create a little bit of space. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe you're blocking a blow or what have you. I've had two jiu-jitsu black belts come out to my range and showed them how to shoot a little bit. And it's very humbling teaching someone who knows how to kill you in 1,000 different ways on the ground how to shoot someone. It's a really kind of an interesting deal. Now there's, like, the whole notion of, like, well, where do you have your background from? I get, like, well, have you ever shot anybody? Have you ever done any of that stuff? It's like, no, I haven't. Thank goodness, right? I've gotten to learn.
I don't think anyone that carries wants to ever do that.
No, you don't. There was at Gunsight, which was the school that Jeff Cooper was, like, the first guy to kind of, like, start civilian pistol training in the country. He founded Gunsight in 1976, and then Clint was one of his, like, major instructors, and then he broke off into Thunder Ranch. So Jeff Cooper's, like, kind of a famous guy if you ever look him up. But he wouldn't have an instructor who hadn't shot someone or been in a fight before. But yeah, no doubt. Like, this guy's like, you have to be that squared away, right? Or of what they call, seen the white elephant or whatever they call it. But for me, I've just got to train with a lot of guys who've done a whole lot more than me, and I took that knowledge and I'm just trying to share it with people. It's not the end all be all, and I'm not claiming to be anything I'm not. I'm just a civilian. I was literally the only civilian person to go through what they would call an instructor development program at Thunder Ranch. So everyone else has been law enforcement, military in one way, shape, or form, and I was just the civilian guy that was the camera dude. But he's like, you're going to learn how to teach too, and I really, really like that. And so it was it was just very humbling. I got to be a part of so many different classes. It was cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So jiu-jitsu, we both train under Tanner Rice.
Yeah, absolutely.
What has jiu-jitsu supplemented your self-defense?
It's changed how I look at different things. My propensity for violence is probably going to be a little lower than most people. Like if I was an 85-year-old grandma, I'm going to shoot you as soon as you look at me the wrong way because I know I can't win that physical altercation, right? Mm-hmm. So that level of like, oh, got to protect myself. Whereas like now I'm a 29-year-old guy, been doing jiu-jitsu almost 5 years now, and I think I could probably do pretty good in most fist fights, mm-hmm. right? And we go to the ground, awesome. Like I've been there a lot. I'm there 3 times a week. Right, getting smashed.
Yep.
So like, yeah, cool. I can go to that world. So my likelihood to like, if you just came up and tried to assault me on the street, you're probably not going to get shot. I'm just going to worry about you trying to grab my gun, and I'm going to try to control the situation. Yeah. Now, if you start bringing weapons into it, that's a different story, right? But jiu-jitsu in itself, I try to remember while I'm doing jiu-jitsu that there are weapons in the real world. Every redneck guy you know in Reading or Red Bluff has a knife in their pocket.
Oh, yeah.
Big old buck knife, right? Pull it out, shink, and he will stab you with it, right? So knowing how to control that. Again, I can't mention Craig Douglas enough. That guy is an awesome instructor, great teacher, great formula, and I think I've trained with him now 4 times. And he comes out to California every year, and so he's awesome. Those classes for him like range for like I think they're like $250 a day, something like that. And it's worth every penny. And then you can apply a lot of that to jiu-jitsu, and you can think about a weapon-based environment. But the big thing that comes out of that class, and what we should all consider as being people who are still carrying or what have you, if you're one of them, is managing an unknown contact with just words. Mm-hmm. So you can deal with a lot of issues on how you interact with someone, especially letting them know you're there. So we've all had that instance where a guy's walking by and he's kind of giving us that shady eye, and it's kind of a weird feeling.
I give him back.
You give him back.
I'm that guy. Okay. I'm like, let's go.
Let's go right now. Yeah. So I just let them know I'm there. Well, hey, buddy, what's up? How's it going, man? And they go, I'm letting them know I'm there. I'm not going to play shy with him or look away or whatever. I'm not going to cower to him or whatever kind of aura he's putting out. Yeah. I'm just going to let him know he's there. If somebody needs help or there's a really great book. It's by Lieutenant Colonel David Grossman. It's called On Killing and On Combat. They're 2 great books. If anyone has any time to read them, you should. They're on Audible. They're awesome. The guy reads them himself. And there's also another book called Verbal Judo. And Verbal Judo, I would say, is probably the best book for someone who's trying to just wanting to defend himself with words. Mm-hmm. It's one of the best. So a guy will come at you, start throwing insults or whatever, and you can just turn that around on him and lay him on his face. So like, for instance, there's a story of a guy on a beach. Right, the guy's on a beach in like L.A. or maybe it's San Diego, I don't know. And they're walking along, and they just had dinner, and they're along the sidewalk, and the beach is there, and this guy comes up, and he's obviously wigged out of his mind, and scratching his neck, and he's like, "Hey, man, I really need cash." And the guy that knows what he's talking about looks down, and he sees that he's got his hand on the end of a kitchen knife in his pocket, and he's like, "Yeah, I really need cash." And he's kind of looking around and stuff, and he tells this guy's probably going to try to rob him. Yeah, it's like getting to that point. And he goes out of nowhere, whoa, dude, where did you get that shirt? And the guy just stops. Like his whole train of thought just got derailed. This guy's checking out my shirt. You know what I mean?
I'm trying to rob him. He's like, where do I get that?
Dude, you know what? And he goes, my mom bought me a shirt like that 2 years ago. Lost the thing. Where did you get that? And so the guy's like, well, thanks. And he probably stole it. Who knows, right? But it's changed that whole demeanor of the conversation. And if that guy had a gun, he didn't have to use it then, right? Now they're talking about this guy's shirt. He says, hey, here's a couple bucks if you need something, and then he just keeps moving on because it changed that whole direction.
And that's Verbal Judo by
Verbal Judo. I cannot remember the author. He was a former cop that did seminars all around the country. It's a blue cover, Verbal Judo. That might be something to look up. But that's an awesome book. It's one of the best, and it's a great audiobook too.
I'm about to look at that.
Yeah, it's really good because we can use our words to defend ourselves too, and it's all a layered system, right? Yep. Yeah.
So we were talking pre-show a little bit about homesteading.
Homesteading. Yeah.
This is something new that I have.
I'm trying to learn a little bit.
Tell me what got you into that.
So I've I'm not there yet, but like I did plant a garden for the first time last year, right? So I have like these raised gardens, and I'm trying to grow potatoes and trying to learn how to grow things, because like we've really gone away from that as a society as a whole. And so like I had a buddy of mine show me for like 8 hours on Saturday how to prune trees. Like that doesn't sound that fun. I get it. But it's something that is a skill set that a lot of people are forgetting, because we all depend on our food from supermarkets or what have you. It's like we don't really have that connection with where our food's coming from or how to grow it, or even just have context with it. That's really what I want, is context. Like, how do people do this? I don't really worry about like a dystopian future too much, but I am kind of trying to be prepared for it.
Yeah.
The world seems really weird. And I think it's silly to think that things can't fall apart. And so for me, I just want to have those options to be able to, hey, if I had to grow a potato, have I done it before? Right. So for me, it's just an important thing. And so like, it's really cool showing my kids where food comes from as well. Like they can literally see like, here, let's go pull some carrots out of the garden. And they do, and they eat it. And it's
That's
like,
awesome.
we literally grew our own food there. We made our own French fries.
It tastes better too.
It does taste better. Yeah. And it's not like super like overcharged with weird stuff and poked and prodded and all that. It's just food that you grew. And that was just a common thing. Only like 60, 70 years ago, everyone had a garden.
Yep.
Right. And now we're so far away from that. It's like everyone's got a Walmart. Right.
Yeah, you can most of the time just walk to it.
Just walk to it. The food's everywhere, right? But we're not far away from being able to lose all that. So being able to grow your own food's huge. And I have a friend who's a really awesome gardener. He's been doing it for like a decade. He's my age, but he's grown everything in a 1 acre little plot of land and does his own homesteading. Just had sheep this week. He had a sheep that had twins and one that had triplets. So he's like literally like pulling the sheep out, and he's just really into it. And it's something that I would like to strive towards and get my kids away from that a little bit. We've already kind of like don't do iPads. We have one TV in the house. I try to mitigate my phone use or anything like that around the kids. Obviously, they're going to see it and be around it. But like I don't have my kids run around with an iPad. I just think that's a distraction from the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we all should learn how to know how to make food.
Yeah.
Like self-sustainability.
We need to be. Yeah. We should all have some skills. Like in the world of like the digital world we live in now, that we can do everything online and stuff like that. I mean, that job at Thunder Ranch, I was posting from my house. I would create all the content and then go home and edit and post everything from my house on a computer, and yeah, I'd much rather have real skill sets. And luckily with my dad's business, I have some kind of a mechanical insight, and I can weld and fabricate and things like that and load dozers and stuff. But man, I tell you what, it's a good thing to have.
You need to figure out how to make toilet paper so we don't have one of those shortages.
Dude,
again.
I'll tell you what. So a funny thing about toilet paper, my family, we do hazardous waste and truck cleanups all the time, right? So trucks roll over, whatever. We get a load of this or a load of that. One time we had the same pancake mix for like 10 years. It was just a whole load of pancake mix. And they had to call it. The company goes, we lost it, right? It's a total loss. Well, my dad had a load of toilet paper once, and I have never bought toilet paper.
Ever?
Whoa. In my life.
So I was working at a grocery store when that whole thing went on.
Yeah.
And like I was the plug for a lot of people. So they were texting me, hey, can you snag me some toilet paper before they stock? I'm like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But should have been calling you, man.
No. So we don't ever sell that, right? No. It's locked down in a very secure location that we don't talk about.
Yeah.
It's soft and gentle. It was the bomb. The problem is it's getting so old now that it's starting to like split,
Man,
it's like, but it's like, it's all I know.
Yeah.
Right. So like I go to someone else's house and it's like, this is like a cushion. This is like the most beautiful thing ever.
Yeah.
But my wife's always cracked up. We've literally never bought it. We're probably halfway through the trailer. And
only halfway.
That happened when I was like, I think we started using that when I was like 8.
Oh my gosh. You're set for life.
Set for life. We'll see how long my kids can use it. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Brady.
Yeah.
I've really appreciated you having you on. Do you have any words of wisdom for our audience?
No. So like, I would just say if you're considering carrying a gun, now's the time to try to do it. Try to get your concealed carry permit. It's not a bad thing to have. And maintain that, but it's not just about buying the gun. It's like if you were to go buy a violin and never take a lesson, same thing. There's a lot of people out there that can teach you. and you need to stay with it and stay in the fight and keep practicing because it's a diminishing skill. And you want to be as squared away in it as you can. I'm not saying to let it consume your life. Yeah. Obviously, we don't want that, but we do want it to be where it's a skill set of ours that we can use, and that will translate into all the stuff you do with bows, hunting, whatever. If you're really good with guns, you can do a lot. So yeah,
words of wisdom.
Maybe.
This has been the Mancave podcast. I'm Tristan Breedeman, and this is with Brady Sale. Thank you.
Thanks. Cool.